Midnight Story Circle. Like and subscribe for more.
My name is David Lee, and the story I'm about to tell you is one my grandma told me when I was young. I must have been 14, maybe even younger, sitting at her kitchen table under the warm glow of the overhead light while the dark California night pressed heavily against the window panes. She leaned in close, the shadows catching the deep lines of her face, and her voice dropped to a sharp, raspy whisper. A long time ago, David, she began, in a tiny, forgotten town in Mexico, just a small patch of dust of 300 or 400 people, there was a dance coming that weekend, and in the dark corners of places like that, things are always watching. Waiting for an open door, in that town lived a mother and her teenage daughter. One afternoon, the daughter went down to the local market for supplies. While browsing the dimly lit shelves, a sudden freezing draft swept through the room, making the tin signs on the walls rattle. She turned slowly to find a stranger standing. Too close behind her, he was remarkably handsome, unnaturally tall, and he had a smile that was almost too perfect, like a rubber mask stretched tight over bone. He spoke with a voice like silk, inviting her to be his date to the weekend dance. The girl was utterly infatuated. Blinded by his charm, she practically flew home, bursting through the front door, her heart hammering against her ribs. "Mama, Mama," she cried, "I met a man at the store, he's beautiful, and he asked me to the dance." But her mother's face went completely pale. The older woman dropped her kitchen rag, her eyes wide with a sudden primal dread. "No," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I don't know about this. You shouldn't go. You don't know who or what he is. No good man comes out of the woods at twilight." When the daughter insisted, explaining that he was already on his way to pick her up, the mother grabbed her arm. "Tight enough to bruise. I forbid it. There is rotten air in the street tonight. Listen to me." But youth is stubborn, and infatuation is a disease. Defying her mother's warnings, the girl waited until darkness completely swallowed the town. She put on her finest dress, ripped her arm away, and walked out into the night, right in front of her weeping mother. The gentleman was waiting for her by the edge of the dirt road. He was standing perfectly still in the shadows, so still he didn't even seem to be breathing. Under the faint, sickly silver sliver of a crescent moon, they began the short walk toward the distant, muffled music of the town square dada tea first. She tried to chat about normal things. "The weather is nice tonight," she whispered, trying to break the heavy silence. The stranger didn't look at her. He just glided beside her, his head turned forward, his voice a low, mechanical hum. "Yes, perfect." With every step they took away from the safety of her house, the night grew stranger. The crickets abruptly stopped chirping. Then the distant music died out completely, cut off as if a heavy iron door had been slammed shut. The only sound left was the crunch of their shoes on the dirt. The darkness seemed to press in from the sides of the road, swallowing the trees, isolating them in a tunnel of pure blackness, and then a new sound cut through the quiet. Bloop, bloop. It was a wet, heavy thud. It didn't match the rhythm of her shoes or his. It sounded like it was coming from just a few feet behind them. She tensed up, her pace slowing. "Did you hear that?" The man kept walking, pulling her gently by the elbow. "Hear what?" "You're imagining things, my beautiful girl." She forced herself to keep moving, but her heart was now hammering in her throat. Her eyes darted sideways, trying to catch a glimpse of his profile in the dim moonlight. His face looked entirely rigid. Gloop, gloop, gloop. There it was again, closer. It sounded like the heavy iron hooves of a massive animal walking right on their heels. "Stop," she whispered, pulling her hand back. They both came to a halt. The silence that followed was suffocating. The girl held her breath, her ears straining. She slowly turned her head, looking back into the pitch-black road behind them. Nothing, just empty dust and shifting shadows. She let out a shaky breath, turning back around and gasped. The stranger was now standing mere inches from her face. He had moved without making a single sound, and the air between them suddenly reeked of something foul. The stench of sulfur, rotting copper, and burning hair dot in the dim light. She noticed his smile. It wasn't a human smile anymore. His mouth was stretched too wide, his jaw slightly unhinged, showing rows of teeth that were far too sharp. Why are you smiling like that? She choked out, her legs trembling so badly she could barely stand.
Oh, it's nothing.
He whispered. The voice didn't sound like silk anymore. It vibrated deep in her chest like grinding stones.
You're just being silly.
A terrible, suffocating instinct told her to look down. Every nerve in her body screamed at her to run, but she was frozen, paralyzed by a growing dread, slowly. Agonizingly, she dragged her eyes downward, past his fine trousers, down to his feet. The breath died in her throat. Emerging from his pant legs were not shoes. Resting heavily in the dirt were two massive, hairy, cloven hooves, caked in dried blood. A strangled sob left her lips. She forced her eyes back up to his face, and the handsome illusion completely shattered. His skin had withered into rotting leather, and his eyes, they weren't human. They were burning, lidless orbs of fierce, glowing, malevolent red, staring straight into her soul. In that single, agonizing second of realization, the sheer force of the terror broke something inside her brain. A freezing shockwave surged through her body, so violent that right there on the dirt road, every single strand of her youthful hair drained of color, turning a stark, dead, snowy white. My grandmother paused. The silence in the kitchen was deafening, and I realized I was holding my breath, my own skin covered in deep goosebumps. She was only 15 or 16, David, my grandma said, her eyes staring past me as if she could still see the monster. She broke her mother's heart, and the devil took her mind. She never came back from that road. The girl was found the next morning, clawing at the dirt, babbling incoherently and laughing at things no one else could see. To this day, they say, she sits in a locked room in an insane asylum, an old woman with dead white hair staring at the floor, forever listening to the steady, terrifying thud of hooves in the dark. My grandmother looked at me one last time, making sure the warning sank deep into my bones before turning back to the stove. She left me sitting alone in the kitchen, listening to the house creak, terrified to look under the table.